So, call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. This is the Rice Creek Watershed District Board of Managers regular meeting. It's 9 a.m. and we are in the Mounds View City Hall Council chambers. Let the record reflect that all managers are present, along with our supporting staff and a host of really important guests in the audience. So it's great to have you. Open mic. So any Rice Creek Watershed District resident may address the board in his or her individual capacity for up to 3 minutes on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are requested to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record. Additional comments may be solicited and accepted in writing. Generally, the Board of Managers will not take official action on items discussed at this time, but may refer the matter to a staff for a further report or direct that the matter be scheduled on an upcoming agenda. With that, I open it up for anyone in the audience who'd like to make comments to us. Seeing no one approaching the dais, set the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Manager Bradley, staff have no proposed changes.
Does any member of the board have a proposed change? With that, can I have a motion to set the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Madam Secretary, I'm calling you to address the minutes.
Yes, so I would move to approve the minutes of the April 22nd, 2026 regular board meeting with one minor correction on page 6 of our packet, line 98. It should say Drainage and Facilities Manager Schmidt, and the same correction on page 7, line 145.
Was that a motion then?
Yes.
Approve it?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Patrick.
Yes, President Bradley, Board of Managers, staff have 2 permit applications for your consideration today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Patrick? Not going to hear a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of permit application number 26-009 and 26-030.
And that's with the conditions pending receipt of change recommended by the engineer's findings and recommendations on the report dated May 5. Is that correct?
Sounds great.
I'll second that then.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passes. Moving right along. Molly? Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board of Managers. For your consideration today, there are 3 water quality grant applications slated. Grant application A26-02 is a conservation cover and buffer planting project for a 50% cost share of $8,447.50. The second application is A26-03 from the City of Fridley for 5 dog waste stations at a 50% cost share of $738.50. There's a correction with the pollutant reduction numbers that are listed there. The pollutant reduction is 0.039 per pound of phosphorus. So, or excuse me, 0.039% per a pound of dog waste of phosphorus. So, for example, 3 pounds of phosphorus per 100 pounds of waste. Whew, okay, and then R26-03 are 2 rain gardens on a residential property in Roseville for a 50% cost share of $6,495.00. Happy to answer any questions.
So I attended the CAC meeting, and it was the CAC members who knew how much phosphorus was in a pound of poop.
Yes.
Allowed us
Yes.
to correct our estimate of value, but it still becomes a valuable program, and the CAC recommended all
Yes.
3 of these programs. So with that, unless there are questions first, I will move the 3 proposals, A2602, A2603, and R2606, as set forth in the outreach and grant technician's recommendations dated April 28, 2026.
I'll second that. And Mr. Chair, just a comment about those. These are three extremely different proposals. I mean, you have basically a prairie restoration, a quite large rain garden.
Two
And-
rain gardens. Yes.
On one property, right? Quite large. And then the request from the city of Fridley. So, is this the water quality grant program that you are having CIC members ask questions prior to the meeting?
Manager Wennett, that is correct.
Okay. And how is that going?
It's going well.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Molly, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Administrator, we have the HEI task order.
That's correct. We have Kendra here today to address the Ramsey County Ditch 2, 3, and 5 floodplain impact simulation. We have discussed this previously at a number of our workshops.
Good morning. So I have in front of you the task order from Houston on the flood simulation tool for Jones Lake. We discussed it, I think, at the last meeting or maybe a couple meetings ago, but they have updated it to add in more options for other areas per your request. And so that is the only thing that's changed in there.
So if my recollection and history of this is that phase one is to deal with our request to get $7.2 million for Jones Lake, which we are going to go visit after this meeting. And the concern of the board was that we shouldn't cut off the other areas that may also need to have this mapping done, and that's phases 2 and 3. Is that correct?
Yep.
Are there any questions?
I just have one question. This is probably directed at you, Nick. Do you remember what was the original cost proposal when it was just Jones Lake? Wasn't it the same amount?
It was. That's the initial phase, but then it stepped out for the other phases are added in.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The phase one amount,
Yep.
I see as reflective of what it was previously. But 2 and 3 are additions for the next steps if the board decides to utilize those.
Okay, got it. So we're just passing for Jones Lake right now with the others as
Options.
optional in the
Yep.
future. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
how we might expand it,
Okay.
utilize it.
Mr. Chair, just a point of clarification. So, I mean, essentially, this is a repackage of the exact same thing that we saw before, including the option to spend up to an extra $25,000 if you want to use it elsewhere. Is that correct? So,
Yeah, I would
Yes.
put a slightly nicer sign paper on it, but yes, that's correct.
okay.
Any further questions? I would move to approve Houston Engineering Task Order 2026-001, Phase 1 for Ramsey County Ditches 2, 3, and 5 flood impact simulation, not to exceed $20,500, with the option of phases 2 and 3 as future options, and direct the administrator to sign the task order. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So, Mr. President, this is too late to use for this year's bonding bill. The purpose of that was for this year. And and my connections with the Capitol this year, as you know, I've been down there extensively, and I recently read that there's going to be no money in the bonding bill for projects like ours at all. They are going exclusively for the projects that are for drinking water in the small towns and such. Yes, I just read that yesterday. And I believe the source is they're generally that's what their business is, to watch the Capitol. So I don't know that this is really, at this time, is something that we should proceed on for this year or so. I mean, unless we're going to anticipate that 2 years from now we'll need it, maybe we'll make a decision then at that time.
Nick, would you like to respond?
Sure. President Bradley, Board of Managers, Manager Waller, to your point, you make a good point that this could have been used with our legislative parties to see what them to better understand the nature of the project. But it is indeed also for the stakeholders and the communities. We had looked at further public outreach for people to understand the flooding that is anticipated to occur over Highway 35, the interstate, in the neighborhoods that exist. So if the board does pass it and the materials created, I'd love to show that to our elected folks, but I think the district's been sincere about its efforts to address the petition from the cities that have asked us to do this, and regardless of the bonding outcome, we'll continue to find ways to fund it, whether that be fund balance, grant, which we have now for the $1.1 million, et cetera.
Nick, at our last workshop, we discussed the problems we're having at DNR, suggesting that maybe we don't really need this because of 35W. I mean, does this address that also? It wouldn't hurt, Manager Bradley, Board of Managers. It would certainly show illustrate the problem that the model indicates will occur when we get the rainfall event, and we have additional measures to help communicate with DNR the strength of the project and the reason for us to proceed with it. Any further questions or discussions? Yes, please.
I mean, just a comment, really. I'm wondering, first, I want to be super clear. I think this is really innovative, and I appreciate the visual, because I think sometimes people don't understand the terminology when you're dialoguing technical things. I certainly don't. I know the imagery is helpful. Where I'm struggling is that it's like the timing, to Manager Waller's point. I'll use an example. For about 20 years, Anoka County was trying to get money for Highway 65, but the city of Lane didn't want to front the cost for things like this, or hold the cost in total for lobbying efforts, or whatever the case may be, studies. We did all these studies, all the things. So they actually formed a coalition that went all the way from Spring Lake Park all the way up to Kennebec County, the entire corridor along Highway 65, all the cities along that corridor, including the counties, kind of rallied around this whole thought process that we needed to fix this highway. And what that allowed us to do is allowed us to share the cost of large ticket items like this. So it wasn't just the city of Lane or the city of Spring Lake Park having to carry the cost. It was shared throughout the entire corridor, because the entire benefit was not just to one city. And I think this in particular project, along with ditches 2, 3, and 5 in that Ramsey County area, kind of is the same thing. And similarly, we've dialogued even, some of the lobbying things and the agreement to share the lobby in that. But I think what really needs to happen, instead of just picking isolated items to assign costs to, is we need to rethink maybe how the entire scope of the project is being approached, and really do it through a whole group collaborative lens, so the watershed isn't constantly asked to bear the full cost of things that benefit many. And it's not just the one project, right? It's a project that's going to, take multiple years over time, and with the end goal of trying to get dollars assigned to this project from the state, whether in bonding bills or what have you. We found great success when we had multiple voices rallied around one thing. We shared the cost, we shared the messaging, and we obviously were able to get $200 million from the state and federal governments. But I'm not a huge fan of this ask and just this isolated thing. I don't particularly, well, no one likes the cost of $20,000, but then it kind of has on the back end of it just like this I'm gonna call it this, I'm sure someone will roll their eyes, kind of like a black hole on the back end. Well, if you use it again, you gotta write another check for $12,500 or whatever it is, and maybe that's a phase 2, 3, maybe it's a phase 4, 5, and now you're talking, exponential cost increases for Lord knows how long till the project's done. So I would suggest a pause on the asks that fall into this category, and really just maybe a reset on how we approach the overall benefit of the project, including all the partners, not just the city of Roseville, not just New Brighton, but everyone, and go back to the table and really view it through a more collaborative lens. The asks you have are large from the state, and I get that, Mr. Waller's done a very incredible job, and so has our staff being down at the state and lobbying towards those efforts. But I think it needs to maybe have a different approach taken to it. I mean, this is a long-term project, and I just don't want to get locked into, this habit where we have these asks for, $16,000 for lobbyists, $20,000 for a flood simulation, or whatever it is. I just think it would be better served if we refocused our efforts through a more collaborative mind frame and moved through the process that way.
So, if I may respond.
I would assume nothing less than a response.
So flooding is not district-wide. Flooding is always local and regional. So when we take on a flooding project, it's going to be one entity that benefits, if you will, but it's the entire, in this case, it's the entire western end of Rice Creek Watershed District that benefits a very large area, very large community. Has been flooding, and if we don't fix this problem, it's going to happen again. Odds are more likely than not. This is a small amount of money for an $11 million budget, $20,000. The complaint the first time was, well, what about other areas that might flood? So we addressed that concern. So we are in a position now, and we'll be in a position now, once we get this done. This isn't going to happen overnight. This is going to take several months to accomplish. And if we don't get funding from the legislature this time, we've been on one list for 10 years. It will be time for us to have a dialogue about whether or not it's appropriate to have a water management district established. We already have a water management district established. And to get our funding with a combination of ad valorem and local property taxes to pay for this thing. And if we're going to do that, we're going to need this kind of information to go to the public and explain why it is we think it's appropriate to have a local tax on local property to fund and to prevent future flooding, including 35W. And I think if we can show we're actually going to flood 35W, maybe we get the DI or the DOT to kick some money in. We've been talking to DOT for some time, and they are actually kind of on the hook for the next phase after this one. But we don't get there if we don't get this one. So I think this is a good ask. It's a reasonable cost. It's a step in a long process. And yes, it doesn't solve anything other than as a step in a long process.
Yeah, and I think this is just one of those times where I think it's fine that we share differing opinions on it. I'm not criticizing anyone that feels differently than I do. That's just my opinion. So when I turn this microphone on, that's what you get. So I'm certainly not attempting to argue. Like I said, I think it's very innovative. I just would question the timing, and I guess, $20,000 is still $20,000. And I think that costs and expenses like that should be scrutinized.
Unless, Mr. Administrator, is the $20,000 in our existing budget?
Yes.
Okay. I'll call the vote then. All in favor say aye.
May I ask one?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I actually have one question for Chris. So can you help me understand, this is for a video simulation. What's the difference in terms of information communicated to the public or other governmental officials, the DOT, whoever you want to aim this to? What would be the difference between this video and just having a map that shows the impacted area? it seems like, I like the idea of the video, I think it'll be, but I don't know if this is just sort of a lot of bells and whistles that would be communicating the same important information to stakeholders. Can you help, and creating the map, it wouldn't cost the same, is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, Manager Hanglin, yeah, you're correct, and we already do have flood maps prepared, and so those flood maps have already been utilized for instance for applying for permits and for I guess garnering other interest in the project. But this is something that goes beyond that and shows it as essentially a time lapse, so you can see how the water gets to the area, how the flood occurs. It goes, creeps up from a low level up to a higher level and back down again, and it basically tells a story. So it's a communication tool, and as an engineer, we're not always good at communicating. We have maps that are black and white and lots of topo lines and stuff like that, and they're great for constructing things. They aren't great for telling stories. And in this case, we're basically telling a story. And so we're utilizing staff that are good at that, and creating something that is again a time lapse visual, a video, rather than being a snapshot in time.
And does it address various levels of rainfall events? So can you dial in like, oh, this is a 100-year, this is a 50-year, this is a 20-year? I mean, or is it just like a certain amount of rainfall at a 100-year event, and that's what it's communicating through?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, in telling the story, we want to show events that have the biggest impact on the landscape. Typically, in our district-wide model, we model the 2, the 10, and the 100-year rainfall events. Each time you run one of those events in the model, it does take some time to do that. I mean, not as much as recreating the whole thing, but it certainly takes some time to do that. And other model or other simulations could be done that would show different rainfalls, but they might not necessarily add to the story, because if you can show the ones that are the most impactful, those are going to really identify for people what the issues are. We had a discussion before about, well, could we go down farther into Lower Rice Creek, and certainly something like that could be done even in Lower Rice Creek, but that might not add to the story, because in that part of the creek, the simulation bounces up within the channel and goes back down, and you're not seeing flooding and impacts. And so that's why we looked at this really from the 100-year event, because that's the one that's most impactful.
And my last question is, since we have sort of missed the boat with this year's session, not our fault, but it just isn't going to happen. If we push this down the road a year or so, trying to prepare maybe more strategically, with more strategic thinking about what would be the most effective communication tools, it looks like you've sort of scoped out the project. So picking it back up again a year from now shouldn't be that difficult. Am I making a correct assumption there?
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, if you wanted to pause on it, that certainly can happen. Of course, whenever you pause on something, the cost will increase some. Rates go up. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions or comment? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Nay.
No. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item. Kendra, you're still up.
Yes, so I have a CAC member appointment. Her name is Susan Young. She was actually recommended by Teresa O'Connell, who is a current CAC member. They volunteer in the SHEP program together. She has a pretty extensive background in biology and water resources, so she would be from Washington County also, which we do have 2 vacant spots in Washington County.
Any questions? If not, we'd like to have a motion to appoint Susan Young.
So this is Janet. I would move to appoint Susan Young for the membership on the Citizens Advisory Committee.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Oh, Kendra, it's your day.
Yes, next item, MRAP, East Metro Water Resource Education Program, 2-year contract. This is a program from the Washington Conservation District. We've been a partner for a while, but the contract is up for renewal, and we have set the amount for $6,000 with an increase of 4% for 2027. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, as we've discussed in a workshop, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve the East Metro Watershed Resource Education Program contract and authorize funding in the amount of $6,000 for 2026 with a 4% increase applied in 2027 per the contract terms.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second this for discussion period purposes.
That's my recollection. The only difference is that we sweetened the pot for 2007, so at least we won't have them back here next year asking for $17,000 again. All right, John, for discussion purposes, go ahead.
Yes, well, first of all, several members of the board have said that this would be money that is duplicatively spent. We've had discussion quite a bit about how we don't really get a value for this dollars over the years. And we already have Kendra here as our communication person, and there's been some suggestion that these dollars ought to be redirected into her budget for more effectiveness. That's a reasonable argument here, because we just don't receive dollar-wise out of the East Metro, because we're not really East Metro, I guess. If we are, we're on the fringe. We go to Mississippi and not to the other area. And I guess I also would like, since we talked for a little bit here, Mr. President, I guess I want to go over a little history about these things. When I first came on the board, when we hired Doug Thomas, and Doug Thomas came from the Board of Soil and Water Resources, and he was one of the grand poobahs down there. I think he was the one who was in charge of soil and water conservation districts, as an assistant director or executive director. And so Doug came to us and said, listen, we should help give out some money to the soil and water conservation districts. And at that time, I think we gave $15,000 or $12,000 and 10 and 10. Anoka got 10, Washington 10, and Ramsey got 12. And at that time, the soil and water conservation districts had, and this is 2008, 9, we're talking about, had difficulties with funding issues, And so we've done that for quite a while. We just sent them a check, kind of like you do at the end of the year, Christmas. And but as you remember, Mr. Chair, President, along the way, suddenly the game changed, and monies that we would used to get by competition for the LCMR dollars vanished. We went from something like getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to getting $100,000, not $1 million anymore, but less than not even 500,000 out of it. And there was a lot of consternation about that on the board. But the rules changed, and what happened when they did that was, and they did it downtown, is that the soil and water conservation districts got the money, and we've never really gotten back to that point where we got that kind of funding anymore. So I guess later on in the budget, if we look at it, I start to think about whether or not we want to send them the check without. Now I'm not talking about the hiring part. We hire some of these soil and water conservation technicians. That a different value issue. And but just that blank check, we said, and maybe that kind of money would be better off directed in our own areas here. My apologies to you, Mary Jo, but
my only dispute is that we would not take this money.
I'm considering the source, so.
Since
my pleasure.
Since Kendra has already been to our board and told us she is not seeking an increase in her budget. I'm not sure that we want to give her an extra $6,000 just to prove a point somewhere. Sorry about that, Kendra. But we all know why we're been asked this money, and we all know that they asked for 3 times this amount of money, and this was what we did to keep them, hopefully, in our pocket and helpful to us rather than breeding enemies. So in order to keep that relationship, I will move to approve, actually, you already did.
Yeah.
So now we're, I think, any further discussion?
Yes, I have one other comment. I have to say that I agree with Manager Waller. I know a little bit about this organization. They do a great job, but when I was on the Sunrise River WMO, we also voted to kind of pull out of them because they have a very broad mandate and there really wasn't a benefit that we could really attach to the dollars. So I think they're all professionals. I think they would still work with us in a collaborative manner. I'm not advocating that we should move the money anywhere at this point in time, but I just think that when we hear from staff that there's not a tangible benefit that we're getting in an investment like this, we should think twice about the investment, even if it's a small amount like this is.
Any further discussion? Nick?
I mean,
All right, Joe, would you like to come to this podium and make a quick comment?
I'm here, but I don't plan to be here. I am also no longer the chair. I was for so many years that I finally said, please, somebody else be chair for, but so I do know though what goes
Can you
on.
Please state your name.
My name is Mary Jo Trushan, and I'm on the board of the Anoka Soil and Water Conservation District. And I'm very proud of our organization and what we do. And I'm especially proud of Kendra and Molly. And I always look to the younger generation because what we do as older people, we may have collected some wisdom, but the new people have a whole different way of doing things. And our staff are all very bright, well-educated people who have innovation for all of these different procedures we've done for years. And one thing I want to recommend with any collaboration with us, and of course, we are not going to be at odds, whatever you decide to do with your money, we are still your collaborators. But one of the programs that came to Rice Creek through our organization was the assessments of the best place to spend the money in an area. You know what I'm speaking about. So what do they call them, SRAs, an assessment of, so suppose we're going to do rain gardens. Our young people have convinced us that you do an assessment of the neighborhood, not just put them in anybody who comes and wants one, but rather you put them in 10 of them in the most effective places, and it does the work of a stormwater pond, for example. So in the work I know of, I think Brianna is working with you and Mitch, and those are 2 of our brightest stars. And if they put their mind to helping with your work, you are getting the best we have. And so you're all in charge of your own money, as we are. We spend where we can in the best possible way. So you'll make your own decisions, but I'm saying you're getting our brightest people for your money, and they are innovators, and they're behind such activities as looking at the best place to spend the money with the tools we have. So sorry, I didn't mean to come here and talk.
I didn't mean to confuse the issues before the board today is about the East Metro subsidy that we sent, and not necessarily the other issues with the dollars we sent to our contract with the soil water conservation districts. So this is exclusive to just that issue today.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Sorry.
just very quickly, kind of echoing the clarification, I'm not suggesting that we move $6,000 either. In the course of that conversation in the workshop, it was really a conversation about acknowledging the innovative and creative work that Kendra does. I mean, it was more so about that versus, proposing increased budgets. I think it was really just a compliment from the Board of Managers towards Kendra and her team, because they have done kind of some of exactly the things you're talking about with innovation and just the way that they have now created a larger footprint and being face-to-face with the community and participating in additional programs and things like that. So, I mean, I just want to be clear, I was not proposing that we're amending budgets. It was really a compliment to staff, and the narrative, at least on my part, was like, hey, if you got an extra $6,000 to spend, I guess I would love to see, Kendra use those dollars, because we know the return on that investment would exist, and you'd see it. You wouldn't have to ask about it. You'd see it. So it was a compliment to staff.
Yeah, appreciate that. So, just
Mary Jo's.
final, hi, Mary Jo.
No, I thought they were asking me a question, and I'm
Okay.
just available if anybody has a question.
Thank you.
That's what I
So,
wanted to say.
my recollection is that we got to the 6,000 through negotiations that John Waller actually negotiated a year ago, brought to us, and we accepted that negotiation that John Waller did a year ago. And now we've maintained the 6,000 in this recommendation, and 4%, by the way, is $24. So next year it'll be $6,024. I mean, it's not
No,
material.
Mr. President, you're correct. I was asked for an increase of it, and we went from 3,000 to 6,000. But, and then later on, we got to ask for something like, I don't know.
17,000.
Was it? Thank you, sir. It was outrageous. Elka, asking for a bump and then that.
Yeah.
The point here is that we don't really, we're not part of that group that focuses on here. And I think that sometimes we're real conscious about, when we talked about the street sweeper issue, that we don't want to get into providing continuous monies out to the communities and become part of their budget. And in a lot of ways, that's what we've done with this issue here that we're talking about, and other issues that we have, that we become part of their budget. And it's not, instead of it's kind of a one-time or seed money issue to try to get things started in the right direction. And so I think that's where I'm coming from today, is that after thinking about this over the time, that we should take a look at it, because otherwise we just become somebody's automatic, you're going to get this money from the Watershed District bingo every year. Whereas the original intent when we started to do these things wasn't to become a permanent part of their permanent tax revenue for them.
Mr. Administrator, do you have any idea how many years we've been paying them?
President Bradley, since the inception of the program, I would think, starting with $3,000 that was most recently noted by Manager Waller. I'll go further to note on page 67 of your packet, under G, is the funding structure that MRAP came up with as they look to advance their program or create, quote unquote, a level playing field. And so that's where the district's, roughly $17,000 originates from. It's the efforts of MRAP, are in local newspapers and activities, et cetera. And the funding structure change, that's where the origin of the bigger ask. And Manager Waller spoke to the doubling that he thought was reasonable given the MRAP's intent to expand.
So, absolutely, either you said, we made a mistake before, we don't want to make this funding, or you recognize that we are part of this community, and as part of this community, we will make a modest donation of $6,000, and next year it'll be $6,024. I mean, that's the issue basically before us on this vote.
So, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, if we do not pass this, we are no longer partners in this.
That's correct.
Yes.
Mr. President, I just thank you, Administrator Nick, for pointing out the funding G structure. I'll point out that we're considered a large watershed district because watershed districts are based on population and, of course, their taxes values. And so they're suggesting that we would hand over 32 grand this year, not 17.
Well, like I said, we got a bargain.
Well, I'm wondering if we even have a bargain at that. As I say, we don't really receive the attention. And they've had a year, you know, I mean.
More than one.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, but I mean, and so I can tell you that I don't have any problem not renewing this contract.
Mr. Chair, I would call the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay.
No,
Next item.
Thank you.
2 to 3.
President Bradley?
Yeah.
Board of Managers, next on the agenda is an adjustment to your Board of Managers calendar by which the public is informed of your regular meetings. Someone noted that September 7th workshop was on Labor Day, and so we're suggesting an
I was
adjustment.
going to come.
I was
to
too.
the calendar.
I just
Oh, my
asked the question.
Yeah,
Good question.
we think it's best to move, and staff would recommend moving it to Tuesday, September 1st. Typical time and location, 9 a.m. at the district office, and on page 75 of the calendar is an updated calendar.
So since the calendar has been approved by the board, does this take a motion?
Yes.
It does. Yep.
So I would move to change our September meeting to Wednesday.
Tuesday.
There it is, September 9th.
No.
Nope,
First.
first.
Read the motion on
Workshop.
74,
We got a
page
motion, there we
74.
go.
Yeah,
Okay.
174.
I move to change the September workshop to Tuesday, September 1, 2026 at 9 a.m.
second,
Office Central.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Yay. Check register. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the check register dated May 13th, 2026, in the amount of $151,891.46, prepared by Red Path and Company.
Any questions of our treasurer? I will second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. District Engineer, Chris, do you have anything you want to add?
Mr. President, I don't have anything specific to discuss, but certainly can address any questions.
Any questions, Chris? Manager, administrative updates.
Yes, Manager Bradley, I'll just make note of the Jones Lake site visit immediately following our meeting here. No other updates beyond that.
All right. John, any updates?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I did attend the Washington County Consortium meeting because it was in person for a change. However, I don't think there were many people there. We had 2 commissioners from Washington County, though. That was unusual, or usually we have 2, but, there was a presentation given by a lady named Miss Jan Paulson. She's a senior engineer with the Minnesota Technical Assistance Program. Now, this is over at the university, but they're actually from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And we've had one of our businesses here in Lane, Aveda, just across
Aveda?
this- yeah, across the street, has used these services. So what these folks do, and they were asking at the water consortium meeting to have for contacts with other organizations. And while it's not directly with the watershed districts maybe, but we have a close relationship with our city administrators. And the city administrators have a close relation with their business communities. They have economic development committees, they have local chambers of commerce, they attend, they're quite close there. And what these folks do is that they come into your business and take a look at your water usage. And so you have water that comes in from the city, you have water that you use, the second stage of it, how you transfer it around, and third, the water that goes out into the sewer systems. And they can do a study at no cost, unless you hire one of their interns. That'll cost you about $4,000 for so many months. But at no cost to this business, they will then take a look at how they can improve their water usage. In a case of our example here that we had at Blaine, I think it was like $40,000 or $50,000 a year. They had several examples. I asked that at the meeting if we could have them come to our mod meeting in Metro, when next one we have in person. I thought that'd be a good place for them to come also. But I'm going to leave this card with the administrator, and I think they will ask questions to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency from the business without identifying the business. And the reason they're over at the university is they didn't want to get labeled as, or have any negative connotation to their work, because they happen to be part of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And this is some of our money that's funded through the LCMR grants that finances these folks. So they had quite a few examples of how this went. Gedney Pickles was another one. What do they do with all that brine? And can they use it twice? Can they use it here or there? And so they concentrate on businesses that are not Fortune 500 companies, that are the small ones we have, less than 200 employees or such. And so I thought this was really the most interesting program. And so I bring it to the attention. I haven't had the opportunity to see Commissioner Miron about it yet. He's planting corn, and don't want to interrupt him.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's right. Oh, my goodness. Don't
Yeah.
interrupt the corn planting. So to talk about this. But I thought with our connections that we have with our city administrators, which we have very close connections with them, this is something we could talk about. Maybe we could have this gal make a presentation at our partners meetings or someplace where it's more focused with the city administrators and with their business communities. And they can save considerable amounts of dollars. In a small business, if you save $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 a year, I think that's right to the bottom line directly, and charges. So, and it was nice to hear that the Pollution Control Agency was trying to do something that wasn't, just enforcement. This was a positive thing here, that these folks could come here and talk to this group at the university and receive some directions out of it at none of their cost, unless they hire one of the individuals for, and that's a several month study for some of that. So that was that. The other thing was, as I mentioned earlier, the state bonding bill. I read from my former employer, the railroad union sends me a update on what goes on at the state, and the latest one I got in the mail just the other day said that if you were looking for money for water projects other than potable water, it's not going to happen. That was what they were telling me. So other than that, I don't have any other things to report today, sir. RC?
Sure. Follow up on what John said about the Metro Watershed meeting. It is in person at Capital Region. Capital Region is hosting We Are Water display, so that would be a great spot to show up, and that's on Tuesday the 19th. And I don't know if we've had a notice put out yet on that one that we would be there.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then also last night, we did a rain garden planting just this direction right here by the city. About 25 people showed up. There were 200 plants that had to get planted, and at least 200. I looked at that and thought, there's no way we're going to get this done tonight. And an hour and a half later, they were all in the ground. So
Awesome.
as you come in on this road here over the summer, we'll be able to see that mature. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Senator Heckler.
No report.
Roberts?
Not really an update, I just wanted to advise I will not be present for the July Board of Managers meeting as we have a PGA tournament in town and I will be predisposed with a myriad of programming that week, so I will
That's
not.
why you were rocking the hat yesterday. At the-
That was a bad hair day, that's why we were wearing a hat on Monday. That was a bad hair day.
Very good.
Look good, though.
Thank
Look
you
good
for
at
that.
you.
Thank you for that, Millis. Commissioner Reinhardt, you're here, you've come, we appreciate your presence. If there's something you want to say to us, we'll listen to.
No, just here to, like to show up every once in a while.
He's keeping an eye on me and Janet.
The
That's what he's doing.
22nd for electeds, and hope to be present at that one.
Very good.
I'm
Thank
a
you.
little disappointed, though, that I'm sitting in a city that's younger than me.
The whole host of things cover that for me, so. Very good. I have nothing to say. I previously said I was at CSE, always glad to be there. Always. I look forward to the tour we're going to take once we adjourn it. So a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Surprisingly none. Thank you, all.